What came first, the chicken or the egg? This is not about the chicken or the egg. I'm pretty sure the scientists figured that shit out already. But I forget what it is right now, but I'm pretty sure it's an easy Google. But I think about something that affects me personally on a little bit more of a daily basis, which is thought. Does thought come first, or does belief come first, and which shapes which, right? So there's something called deductive reasoning. And for example, when kids don't know the answer to something, and people too, but I'm using it from like from a young standpoint. Like we only see after 3 or 4 years of living on the planet, you know what I mean, we don't see very much. And we basically, deductive reasoning is basically putting 2 and 2 together. Like, well, this is this way and this is that way, so that must mean, and we use like the best common sense or judgment we have. And even this happens as an adult too, man. It's like you don't know exactly, but you can tell that this is the way this is, and that's the way that is. And how do they affect each other? It must be like this. And there, that's when deductive reasoning comes in, and it's a very essential part of humanity. It's like a very essential problem-solving skill, problem-solving nature that people have, that humans have. So like when you don't know the answer to something, you look at the evidence, or you look at the proof. Not proof. We're talking about evidence. We're looking at like reasoning, and we're looking at reasoning. That's what deductive reasoning is. It's like reasoning, like trying to figure out things. Anyway, I lost track because somebody looked like they were about to hit my car real quick. So putting 2 and 2 together doesn't always like add up to 4. It doesn't always give you the truth. It gives you like a kind of an idea. So as a kid, when we learn how to like analyze the world, our brain is developing. We're a sponge, and our brain and our perception of reality is developing way faster than anyone can teach to. Like no one can teach. So that's why, like, you learn through life, you learn through experience. You can't teach a kid everything. Like, they're learning where our perception, our intake of reality is teaching us faster than any outside entity can teach to. You can't teach that fast. So we're left up to like our own understanding sometimes, our own deductive reasoning. So we look at reality, and then we analyze it. We put it through our little computer, our little gray matter computer between our ears, and then we come up with something we think we understand, which gives us a belief. You know what I mean? So we think about what we see, and when we think about what we see, it gives us a belief. And based on that belief is how it forms and shapes the next thought process. It forms and shapes the way we think about other things as well. So it's not always true, is the thing, man. It's not always true. Like our belief system, our system of beliefs, the way we perceive reality, intake it, and what we think is true, that's our belief. What we think is true shapes and molds the way we perceive things. So it's not just one before the other or one before the other. It's kind of like a symbiotic relationship. It's like a revolution of thought and processing that our brains go through. So that's why it's really important to encourage kids, especially, and people too, to ask questions. It's the thing about kid, a 5-year-old is going to question you till the fucking sun goes down, And they'll stay up all night long asking questions, and you got to try and give them the best answers you can for the questions. That's a beautiful thing about the technology we have. At least we can go to some kind of something besides like Britannica's, encyclopedias. We can just go boom. Let's ask the question and get the most recent discovery, the recent scientific discovery, or the recent information, the most recent information we can get online. And kids will absorb it, and then they'll have a more realistic, a more whole, and a more like a broader perception of reality, and be able to come up with like deductive reasoning will be a lot more accurate. So like, as far as addicts go, we talk about in recovery, in Narcotics Anonymous, we talk about how the disease of addiction, it lies in your thinking. It lies in our thinking. And it's kind of like so for sure, there's no doubt, according to scientific discovery, that there's no doubt that there are some genetic makeup that makes people more or less susceptible to being to substance abuse, to being addictive towards substances. But there are people that may not be addictive towards substances necessarily. They can pick up and put down, but they're addictive towards other things. They're compulsive and impulsive and compulsive towards other things. So like, it makes me think, where does that come from? I think it comes from our belief system. Like this structure where we're left to, the idea that we're supposed to fend for ourselves, and we just create the perception of reality that best suits that for the individual. And what happens is we end up people end up like stepping over, undercutting, crossing over other people's path in life. Like, you hear stay in your lane, and that's kind of the thing. Like, it's hard to stay in your lane when you're supposed to be doing everything on your own, out of everyone else's way. It's just not reasonable. So like, cooperation is where it comes in key. And a lot of the cooperation comes naturally to humans, and it would come a lot more naturally if we had more of a general understanding of the same reality. I'm talking about like scientific, factual, factual reality, mathematic based reality. And even how that interprets into like the nature of like the spirit of people, the nature of the spirit of life, because it ties in. So like so when we become addicted, when we're addicts, we think that the disease lays in our thinking. The disease is centered in our thinking, and it's centered in self-centered thinking. Like, that's where the disease is. It's in self-centered thinking. And I've talked about this before. I know I'm getting long on time. I talked about this before, that it's basically like how the baby or the toddler learns to get what it wants by throwing a tantrum. And that without an understanding of that, and without proper skills in how to nurture oneself, and how to nurture, like, within a community, within a family, or even in a society, what happens is that desire of the little toddler who throws a tantrum, that starts to snowball. It turns into a snowball effect, and it gets bigger and bigger, and ends up taking precedence. It stands ahead of like reasoning and logic and wisdom and mental health and physical health. It all becomes about how I can make myself feel good immediately right now. It's like that. Like, that's how. So it's tandem with thinking and belief, though, like our belief system, how, what we think, what we value most in life. I remember as a little kid thinking that whoever had more money, or whoever had, this is the things we learn, right? Deductive reasoning, because this is what we're in consumerism and materialism, we're fed this idea that whoever has the newest stuff, whoever has the most stuff is worth more. Like, you must be worth more because you have a clean, you have new socks every month, and I must not be worth as much because I still have the same socks at the end of the school year that I started with. That type of shit. Like, that's some serious shit right there. That'll get into like into a kid's belief system and change the way I think about the rest of my life. So it really comes down to where the belief system comes down to what we value in fucking reality, man. Like, do we value the earth enough? Do we value each other enough? Do we value material more than we value ourselves? Like, am I willing to die for for my car? Am I willing to die for my car? Am I willing to die? You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't think so. I'm for real. I don't think so. I'm willing to put my life up to defend myself, to defend my life. I'll put my life on the line for that. I'll put my life on the line to defend my family. I'll put my life on the line, and I'm talking about, like, to defend people I love, to defend people I'm around. It's like self-defense is an act of self-love. But I don't think I'm willing to put my life on the line to protect something I accumulated materially. I just don't think so, man. I don't know. Like, I don't know until the time comes. I've been faced, you know what I mean? Like, I've been faced with certain things, and sometimes like, my only resort is to put my life on the line, and most of the time it's like it's a losing battle. If somebody's desperate enough to threaten life for material, it's 9 out of 10 times it's not a safe fucking thing to challenge that threat with your own life. I'm just saying, where's my values, man? Where are our values? I don't think we treat the earth with enough respect. I don't think we value what the earth actually, what our relationship to the earth and the universe is. I don't think we value what that relationship is. I think all we want to do, I think because of the last 500 or 700 years of the system that we're operating in, and even older than that, even longer than that, it's been going on longer, but it's become very acute in the last 500 or 700 years, that we don't value our relationship to the earth, and we don't value our relationship to each other. That's a lot longer than I wanted to talk, but so I think, like, the addiction thought manifests and perpetuates through belief systems that are not in harmony with like our relationship to the earth, with our relationship to each other. And not, when I say the earth, I don't just mean the ground we walk on. I mean living things. Everything on this earth. We're all like, it's all one, it's all, different manifestations, different, I say manifestations, but people don't like that phrase because you hear manifest destiny. That's not what I'm talking about. Manifest destiny doesn't mean what I'm talking about. We're different, like, expressions of the same energy, and the energy is the energy that comes from the sun, gives energy to the earth, and things grow. You know what I mean? That's the energy I'm talking about. So we're all different expressions of that energy, and we're all tied together somehow, some form or another. Like, even though that tree down the street is 50 yards away, each molecule in the air, from my finger, from my face, from my mind to that tree, there's molecules that connect us. So we're all connected, and I depend on that tree for fresh air. You know what I mean? I depend on my neighbors for and not necessarily, but the fact is we depend on people for a kindly smile. We depend on people for a physical embrace. We depend on each other for love and support. Like people thrive that way. People don't thrive singled out in rough conditions. We don't thrive that way. You know what I mean? We survive. We're able to survive sometimes not, but we thrive together. Yeah. I got a phone call. Peace.